allergies are acting up.
Mine too. And it's like, it's bullshit because it is a snowy wonderland outside still. Like the trees should not be fucking, and yet they fuck. And my nose hates it. I'm sneezing constantly.
Trees, stop. This is no time for fucking.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm very... I played this game a lot this week. I'm Maddy Grace Webbin. I was going to make a little joke, but I couldn't. I was going to make a little joke, but I couldn't think of one. Sorry, I failed you.
Yeah, it wasn't a little bit of a video game this week. It was a lot of bit of a video game this week.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we'll get to all of that soon, because today we will be talking about the sixth part of Septerra Core, covering everything up until we go to complete the Watcher's Quest to get the healing plant and the Agent Chosen Talisman, saving Layla in the process, but not including the stuff with General Campbell, because apparently this part of the game is non-linear. So,
so there's a big old section that we're going to do next week.
Mm-hmm. But before we get to all of that, how's everyone's week?
Hey, did you know that implosions can be reversed, apparently?
Oh, thank God. I'm so glad to hear this. What happened? You don't have to go into detail or anything, but you know.
Yeah, it's still complicated. And that's a good way to sum up the situation. But the person that I had a falling out with that I most recently, we're good, I think.
Good.
Shout out to them. They know who they are. They're probably listening to this. I'm relieved, and I'm very happy to be talking to this person again, and glad that we're still friends.
Damn.
Because you see, the thing about
thanks, Joe
implosions.
Biden.
Yes.
Joe Biden signs executive order saying that everyone has to be nice to Eli.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. Can we please have that forever? Because
especially because you work in customer service, that would completely change your life.
It would.
Someone calls a random customer service that they don't like Blizzard, and then it turns out it's you, and they start being a jerk, and the fucking CIA busts down their door and arrests them, which for the record is not funny, but no, it is extremely funny, but you know, just so we're clear that would be bad.
Yes.
Can I get my own Diet Coke button, except my button is someone's being mean to Eli?
Yes.
And it just sends like I don't know.
I should get you like a one of those Staples buttons that goes, "That was easy," but it says, "Hey, be nice to Eli." So you can just have it with you every time someone's being mean. You just hit it.
It is illegal to be mean to Eli. Federal and state law prohibits.
Release the hounds.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Release the hounds or the bees or the hounds? When they bark, they shoot bees out of their mouths.
What about you, Maddy? How was your week?
Well, as I referenced, obviously the big world news is that the dang Cheeto is no longer in the White House. I actually went to I told someone about the Cheeto, and they the janitor there does a great job, but there's just this one spot you really can't see. It's kind of behind this plant in a corner. I was like, dude, there's been a Cheeto there for like 4 years. Anyway, they finally got rid of it, and that's really good, you know, because it was I like things to be clean. For the
You
record,
can't just leave Cheetos lying around.
I stole that joke entirely from Twitter, by the way. He's like joking about it being an actual Cheeto.
Yes.
Anyway, I forget who said it. Anyway, no, it was nice. I was gonna not watch the inauguration because it sounded like it would be depressing and boring, which is the worst combination when it comes to politics. But I ended up waking up on. I also was at 9 a.m. Eastern time, Pacific time. I'm going to now call that Eastern time. It was at 9 a.m. Anyway, the point is I woke up at like
150 steps west.
Yeah. I woke up at like 8:15 for no reason and couldn't get back to sleep. So I was like, fuck it, I guess I'll watch the stupid inauguration. So at 8:45 I tuned in and just got to see like them swearing Biden in and him giving a speech that only made me yell and say fuck you twice, which is like pretty good.
Pretty good.
Those are the only parts that weren't boring though. But anyway, yeah, no, that's so, it's interesting. A lot of people have a lot of complicated thoughts and feelings about that, but I just thought I'd let everyone, it's not like I think people listening to this don't know, but if they're listening to it in the future, they might not know where we're at in the timeline. Right. So yeah. But more importantly, the best new meme of 2021 happened, which is Sitting Bernie. Which I gotta admit, I'm surprised at the legs that this meme has, because and don't get me wrong, I saw the picture and I was like, that's funny, right? And also like, aw, what a sweetheart, we love him, blah 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 blah. And then people are making tweets like, my man looks like he's got errands to run after this. Oh, I'm gonna swing by my buddy Joe's inauguration and then I'm gonna go to the post office, But it's been like almost a week and the memes are still going super strong. And now like brands are posting Sitting Bernie memes, which is funny. When you get like Amazon posted a Sitting Bernie meme, which is hilarious for a lot of reasons. Bernie should be bitch, I will kill you.
Not know that? Yeah, he's like, oh, the moment I become acting chairman, Senate Budget Committee, I'm going to dismantle you.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos is like Bernie's number one most hated person, probably. Like it's like mortal enemy, and they're doing a Sitting Bernie meme, which is have complicated feelings about that. But anyway, it's a great meme, and it makes me happy.
Have there been any Sitting Bernies next to sad Keanu's?
Oh, I'm sure. I haven't seen that, but I actually was going to make... Funny enough, earlier last week, someone posted a picture of sitting... there's a new picture of sitting Sufjan Stevens, where he's sitting and looking sad, and it's really funny. And I was going to make a meme of sitting Keanu and sitting Sufjan, but then before I could actually make it, because, it takes a little bit of effort to do image editing to make a meme, because I like to make them actually look good, right? Not just be super cheaply done. Before I could make that meme, Sitting Bernie happened. So now it's like, okay, well, now I got to reconfigure this entire meme concept. Anyway, I actually haven't seen that joke, but it's so obvious. I'm sure someone's made it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just a silly part of life. But it's we like memes. Also, it is, as me and Sam have discussed off, privately, legitimately extremely good that Bernie Sanders is the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. That's a weird, wonky role that is outrageously important, and I kind of don't understand why any of the other Democrats allowed that to happen, because he's probably just going to use that to make things happen that they don't like. So that's weird, but hey, that's cool, and it might actually lead to legitimately positive material development in the world. Also, the did y'all hear about the big strike that happened in the Bronx?
No.
An enormous food wholesaler, I think, like a giant grocery store that just sells to the other grocery stores, like a supplier, like with like thousands and thousands of employees. I think they supply food for like half of New York, basically, like groceries. Anyway, the workers there went on strike. Because obviously they're essential workers and they're getting paid bullshit and don't have good COVID protections and, all the normal reasons people go on strike. And it's the first time that this group has gone on strike in like 40 years or something like that. And basically they wanted a $1 an hour raise. And of course, the company was saying, no, you're going to get, and they're way underpaid. And the company was saying, no, you're going to get a 30 cents an hour range or raise. But the funny thing is, they weren't really getting a 30 cents an hour raise because they were also going to be modifying their healthcare so that the employees were having to contribute more. So really, it would have been literally not getting a raise. But anyway. They fucking won. They fucking won their strike, and they got, here's what it's going to be: 70-cent raise this year, 50-cent raise the next year, and 65% raise the year after that. Nice. And also some added overtime / scheduling protections. Basically, it's really awesome. The union, I think it's Teamsters, which shout outs to Teamsters. I think 2 days ago, Teamsters announced that they'd reached an agreement and that they'd be voting on it the next morning. And when that kind of thing happens, it's always very stressful because when union leadership reaches an agreement, sometimes the agreement sucks. And then the union rank and file has to be like, did our leadership sell us out? Should we vote down? Or maybe this is as good as they could get, should we vote down the agreement and say, we're not taking that, give us something better, we're going to keep striking? Or do you say, striking is really, really hard. We've already been at it for a couple of days. We don't know if we can keep going. We need to just take what we can get. But apparently it voted very, very positively, and everyone's saying it's a great deal. So it's really exciting. It's the first pay raise they've gotten in, again, I think literal decades. There's a lot of other reasons that I won't go into why it's really positive, but just objectively, unambiguously, really positive development in the world. We love to see shit like that, So yeah, nothing happened in my personal life. I don't think anything at all. No, and I don't care. So that's most of my life is just paying attention to the news and being happy or sad about it. So
yeah,
and making
this week started with me getting a Duolingo email, and the email was like, "Hey, it was just like a newsletter, but the newsletter was like the science behind why all of our emails work," and I'm like, "There's a lot more science of why it doesn't, because you guilt people into doing it, but whatever." But then I was like, prior to COVID starting, I had like a 100-day streak on Duolingo. I was doing really good at learning Japanese, and I was like headed towards like progress and everything. And I was like, I should get back on that. So I started doing Duolingo a little bit. I told Bernard, "Hey, Bernard, you should get back on Duolingo as well." He's like, "I actually just started this week doing Spanish as well." And so I'm like, "Oh, hell yeah." And so we've been kind of like accountability buddies. And my favorite part about ADHD, and I don't know how long I'll ride this high for, but I started hyper focusing on Japanese. And so I have like 7 different apps that like all teach Japanese a different way, so that I'm not, because the problem is I took 3 years of Japanese in college, so I know a lot of grammar, have a fairly low vocabulary, but also for a lot of complicated reasons, because Japanese is a very complicated language. The Japanese you learn in school is basically not useful. It like teaches you the underlying rules of Japanese, so that then every single piece of Japanese media and every single Japanese person you will ever talk to breaks those rules, because it's all about context. And so they just know what part of sentences to not say. So it's like I can build a pretty big sentence that no Japanese person would ever build, but it's grammatically correct. And so I found this one that I will put my stamp of approval on if you want to learn Japanese, this is what you should do. You should look up Tae Kim. I know that's a Korean name, but Tae Kim, he wrote this book basically saying everyone sucks at teaching Japanese because they try to teach it like other languages, and Japanese is completely unlike every other language. And they try and get you to have useful phrases so that you can go over as a tourist and be like, "Konnichiwa, where is the bathroom?" And they'll point you to it. And and so they will just tell you, say this, but won't tell you what any of that means. And then when they start telling you the grammar, they start teaching you really formal because they don't want you to piss off a Japanese person. But that then spends like 3 years of you not knowing shit. So he's like, fuck it, I'm teaching you informal Japanese from the beginning. That I'm not going to give you any outs. Like I'm going to teach you the writing system on these first 2 lessons. You're going to drill it till you know it. And then when I introduce a word, I will introduce it with its kanji, and then I will only use its kanji. I'm not going to do this thing that all the other ones do because kanji is really hard. They kind of save that until the later years. But when you get to Japan, everything's in kanji. So everything you know isn't helpful. And so that
sounds really good. Yeah.
He wrote a book, made it free. So there's a lot of apps that adapt his book into lesson plan. The one that I'm using that's really good is called Sensei. And so if you look up the Sensei app on iOS, it'll say Taya Kim on it. It's a green icon. That one's really, really good. And I highly recommend it. If you want a paid one that's also really good, check out Fluent Forever. Fluent Forever also is really good for any language, but their Japanese one is expressly good. And the way they focus on it is focus on pronunciation, so that you will stop thinking in English about Japanese and start thinking in Japanese, because you will process words and stuff more accurately to Japanese. And then it uses like SRS and all those other cool things to learn languages. And it's really, really good. It's just expensive and I'm cheap. So as soon as my trial runs out, I probably won't re-up it. But yeah. And so with those plus my previous things combined, I started playing Dragon Quest XI for the 3DS, and I have gotten through the first tiny dungeon, and I kind of know what's going on. There was a part where like I was trying to go to bed, so I was trying to just get to the first save point. So I was taking pictures of all the text boxes so I can translate them during my work week this week. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but I know. And this is only from playing the Japanese. I have not even watched a trailer for the English version, because I don't need a trailer for the new Dragon Quest. I'm just going to play the new Dragon Quest.
Yeah, you don't need to be convinced to play a Dragon Quest game.
Right. So the game starts with some important lady with some important baby, and she gets got and drops the baby in the river, and Grandpa Gohan picks him up and races him as his own. And then the game proper picks up on the coming of age ceremony day, where the main character and this girl Emma are childhood friends, and they have to go climb God's boulder, and the Earth Spirit they'll offer up a prayer of thanks to the Earth Spirit to complete the naming ceremony and bring safety to the town of Ishii Village. And I learned all of that in Japanese, and that feels really fucking cool.
That fucking rules, dude.
Nice.
Good job.
Yeah.
I gotta say, you probably picked the best game too, because compared to other Dragon Quest games, even Dragon Quest XI is kind of like Dragon Quest 3. It leans really hard on, like, I would say more so on like not just fantasy tropes, but on like children's fables almost tropes. Like a lot of the stories in the game, because it's a very episodic game, a lot of the stories are like very much like literal children's stories, right? Very simplistic good and evil stories with these cute little conflicts, and more so than any other Dragon Quest game. So that sounds like it. So it's probably a great pick for learning Japanese, I bet.
Yeah, and it also has furigana, which is the pronunciation guides for the kanji, which makes looking them up easier. Like the game
itself has furigana.
Yeah. If you're playing on the top screen. If you switch to playing on the bottom screen on the SNES style, they do not have it, which I learned by accidentally walking into a cutscene by using the D-pad, and so it, because the where your text box pops up picks the screen based on if you're using the control stick to move around in 3D or the D-pad to move around in 2D. And I just was being lazy and holding a button, and it started talking, and I had no idea what was going on. I had to restart. But prior to starting Dragon Quest XI, I had started the original Summon Night for the PSX, and because I had it handy, and that one did not have Furigana on it, and there is one kanji that it's at such a low resolution with text effects on it that I cannot pick out its stroke order or anything like that to look it up. If it had Furigana, I would just type in like Hoshi or whatever it said on top of it, and that would give me a much smaller list to look through instead of the 1900 kanji that you're supposed to know as an adult. So shout outs to Furigana. It's great. The last thing before we dive into this episode is I don't shop at Amazon anymore for obvious reasons, but at work hey you got, like, side note, at work they talk so much about how much money we save the company, and they don't pay us anywhere close to that money, and it makes me really upset. But
how it works.
But the hey, you made a lot of money for the company reward is a $25 Amazon gift card, and we can win 2 a month. Of course. And so this last month I won 2 of them, and I got $50. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to not use it. So so a lot of things that have just been sitting around on my Amazon wish list because I don't use Amazon anymore, I started like chipping off those, and it'll just be little fun surprises for me. This month's fun surprise was a Digimon 20th anniversary recreation of the original Digimon V-Pet. And I got the blue and red one, cool. And it's awesome because I had an original 1997 one, and then I lost it at Gatorfest in Anahuac, and it made me really sad. And so now I have it replaced, and it's awesome. The only thing that sucks about it is in the 90s, they were loud, obnoxious, annoying digital watches, and they have turned the volume down, which, like, on one hand, thank you, they were annoying. On the other hand, I have kids and watch TV. I need it to be loud.
You want it to be loud, and also annoying grabs your attention.
Yeah, Agumon has nearly died on me twice from drowning in his own shit because I don't hear the fact that he's taking a shit because I'll just be doing something else, and it makes it much harder. It's hard mode Digivice, but yeah, that's all.
I actually have one more thing since I didn't share anything about my personal life. Here's one thing, which is nice. I won't share the exact amount just because I don't know, feels like a weird thing to share 100% super publicly. But my bank account statement, my bank account balance is officially now the highest it's ever been. The first digit of it has reached a digit that it has not been before. So when that happened, I was just like, I've literally never had this much money, which is good because those of you real heads who have been listening to the pod a long time know that I've had a lot of sometimes very, very extreme financial difficulties in the last couple of years. So to have the opposite of that is just really nice.
Yeah. I'm always worried when I have more money than I'm used to. Like, what did I miss? What did I not pay?
Yeah. I've just been working really hard for the last year with budgeting and stuff, and also COVID bucks. Shout outs to our boy, the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee for those bucks. But just, and more importantly, I haven't had any huge expenses because of shit that I fucked up, right? Which is usually where my money goes. It's been a string of combination of, I think, my own responsibility, which I feel proud of, but also a lot of good luck, because don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Just being responsible doesn't mean you can save money. It's not about that. It is mostly about where you are in society and also luck. Okay.
A lot of luck.
So if anyone has no money, it's not their fault. However, there are very specific things that I did do that I feel proud of. So
nice. Proud of you. Speaking of things that I'm proud of, let's listen to another great music track from Halo Combat Evolved because we are still out of Septerra Core music. And
there's like 18 different battle themes, and we've played them all.
There are 6,
and no other music.
There are 6, and we played them all, and there are 7 things, and we are on episode 6, so we have hit all of them. We technically haven't played every track because there's one track that has a voice line in it, and that voice line is spoilers. I found this out because I thought it was the opening, and I was going to put it in the first thing, and it is like one of the final like. Hurrah. It's like
like the Snape kills Dumbledore soundtrack.
Yeah, it's like now that you have completed the game of Septerra Core and these are all of the things, now this is the prophecy of all of the things to build up a sequel or whatever the fuck type thing at the end of the game. And I'm like, well shit. So
that sucks.
We haven't used that one, but we've used all the others. So yeah, let's listen to some Halo music and then we will talk about the plot.
Before you go in real quick, I just want to share, everyone's going to be really disappointed to hear this, but sad news, everyone, or good news. Just like the, what's it called in the Septerra Core? The concurrence, the conjunction.
The conjunction.
Just like the conjunction, the conjunction of me, Sam, and Eli all hating the game at the same time has passed. We are now past the conjunction, and I am now back to thinking that this game fucking owns.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this week as well. It was great. Sorry,
I'm
Eli,
still conjuncted.
It's like a total eclipse. Like it completely aligned. It'll never happen again.
Yeah.
So
I'm over here in the darkness, hating the game.
Yeah. And I'm over here staring directly up with no sunglasses. So, as you may remember, we had a soft stop last week because Maddy didn't get all the way to liberating Wind City because this game has really slow combat. So since me and Eli skipped most of it, we were like, oh, easy 4-hour week. And Maddy took 11 hours to do it. It's even worse this week. But So I'm going to take a little bit back up, cover some of the ground in depth, meeting back up with where Maddy started playing this week so she can jump in if she found anything cool there. But after the conjunction, the game just leaves you straight up hanging. No idea what you're supposed to do. Eventually, when you find the way forward, you have to go talk to Layla back on the mountain. We tell her that we destroyed the lenses and that there's a civil war going on. And she's like, all right, well, that means the Chosen are out of Wind City. Let's go take my homeland back. And we're like, hell yeah. So we go to find the remaining soldiers of the Seven Winds. They are protecting the wind turbines in the northern forest, and we have to sneak in by a boat across the reservoir. Not our spaceship, of course. We have to do a big-ass hunt for items. We covered it last week. I'm not going into it again. In the forest, we find the city guards who tell us we need to sever the power lines to the city to help us take it back. And we have another fetch quest to outfit Lobo with a lens, and we use that lens to cut the cable. And the guardsmen run off to Layla, and we do the same. She tells us that we need to strike at the battleship by way of the roof of the Capitol. So we take Corgan with us to South Farm, use the back entrance to get to the library, where the abbot sneaks us into the Capitol building, where we flip a to lot of levers. Finally, up on the ship, we flip 2 more levers, and then meet up with Balcom. He's the sidekick of Doskius, and we fight him. Layla,
I want to interject briefly. I don't want to get through this without making sure that everyone's aware. The Chosen ship is fucking beautiful. It's the best really graphics in the game so far, I think. Although I think it becomes surpassed by the next dungeon. So a lot of good graphics this week. Okay, go on.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good graphics this week. There was one I really wanted to call out, and I will call it out when we get there because it was really cool. But so on the ship we meet up with Balcom, who's the sideburn sidekick of Doskius, and we fight him. Layla Inigo Montoya's him, but lets him go so he can tell Doskius that the people are fighting back, so he better watch himself. Layla asks Corgan to stay with her, but he says he can't. Doskius is a threat to all of Septerra, so while the city is safe for now, it won't be for long if he doesn't come with us. And that's basically where we stopped last week. So, again, the game gives us literally no hints, so we return to Aziz. There's a hot girl named Elisa, and she's waiting for us. She tells us that Doskius is planning on using the Doomsday device that General Campbell, Led's dad, had made, and move all the world shells up to shell 1 because the riddle mentioned that the land shall rise. The shells when
Sam, do you think we should mention that the hot girl is in fact a character that we talked about last week?
I think so. We mentioned her a couple times.
Oh, I just think we should remind people. Yeah, that's the Emperor's daughter. If y'all remember that. Yeah. And we think she's going to be a party member at some point. That's her. Just so we're clear.
Yeah. So, when the shells get raised all the way to the outer shell, they will form a sort of rune on the planet's face, some big magical thing. And Doskius seems to have cracked the riddle because he knows exactly where to like laser go in and just move part of the shells. So he is going to, quote, save the planet by, quote, killing all of the people who live on the lower shells and do just like what happened to Janam. So our plan is to stop Doskius, figure out the riddle, then complete it ourselves after we evacuate everybody. Be like, hey, we're not raising anything from Shell 7. Everybody go hang out in Shell 7. Then you can move back home once the G forces have died down. But first, we need to figure out how the Doomsday weapon actually works by stealing its plans from the Chosen Palace. We enter the Chosen Palace from the sewer in front of an Aurora Borealis with kick-ass like star constellations, and it's gorgeous. Love
an Aurora Borealis at this time of day, at this core, on this core of Septerra, located directly entirely in this one screen outside of a fucking sewer entrance.
So good. It's so
Can I see
pretty.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area.
Yeah, it like made me think that like we have to be coming back here just for like this vista for later. It seemed like way too important to just be the fucking sewer dungeon, but it might just be the sewer dungeon. So we enter the palace from through that sewer, and it's basically the same as last time, though the areas are different, which basically just means it's boring and bullshit. We eventually make our way back to the throne room, and Doskius leaves Caleb with the Doomsday plans and is like, guard these with your lives. And Caleb is like, I will definitely do that. I will not leave without taking these with me, or I will die trying. And we then beat him, and he leaves the plans behind. So we take them back to Aziz. And Elisa warns us that Doskius has already fired the Doomsday device at Prano on Shell 6. The plans say that there's a biocomputer at the center of the device, which if we kill it, it should stop it. So we split the party with Layla and Corgan leading one and us leading the other in hopes that at least one of our groups will be successful. We fly to Prano, where a big-ass hole is in the ground now. We make our way through this hole, fighting tentacle brains in an incredibly cool dungeon that's not about flipping levers to open doors. It's about fighting tentacle brains to open doors, which is progress. And
yeah, I think Sam's you're probably going to yell about this in a memorable moment, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. If you miss any of the reasons why this dungeon is cool, then I will follow up.
Yes, it's really, really good.
This dungeon's really good. It's the highlight of the entire game.
Yeah. At the very bottom of the hole is the Mother Brain, who has a really cool two-part boss fight that I cheated through. So Maddy, this looked really interesting, and it seemed really interesting in the Let's Play. Tell us about this kick-ass boss fight.
Well, in order to do that, I am briefly going to have to talk about the whole dungeon. Sorry, I wasn't intending to do that, but what's cool about the boss fight is it is, in fact, an extension of the dungeon itself, which I realized while I was playing it. So the whole dungeon is this big maze. It reminded me of Gears of War 2, of all things, which has a level that... You know what I'm talking about? There's a level, it's like the second level in Gears of War 2, with all these chest high walls that are actually tentacles that you have to make move. Anyway, it's a thing. Anyway, so remember those tentacles that the Doomsday device makes exist to grab the continent and slam it, that whole thing? Turns out the entire thing is a giant living creature. It's all one enormous, endlessly betentacled monster, but it's also like a mechanical creature. So it's like it's got biological portions, it's got robotic portions. It's fucked up and looks very cool. So the tentacles are forming a lot of the walls, and basically you fight a monster, and then after the dungeon has a series of required battles where if you fight the monster, and then once you kill it, it's gone, and then you go. Sometimes you fight and kill something, and killing it doesn't make a hole appear there, but it makes another section of the tentacle go away. And they have specific move set that's very important. I won't go into it, but they all have very specific move set. You're fighting the same battle over and over and over. It might sound like it's bad, but it's actually really neat because you get to try and discover new and better tactics every time you fight it, using like having a control group. And you just got 2 new spells, and they're very interesting spells. So I was literally enjoying the whole dungeon, because the whole dungeon I was like refining my strategies on beating this battle. It was neat. Anyway, moving on. So the dungeon, so the boss is the center of the whole thing, but it's the same thing. It's a big biomechanical mother brain thing. And it's a big circly bit, and it's got 4 different segments covering it. It looks like a giant what do you call it?
The cookie catcher fortune cookie thing?
No. Well, that too. Actually, that's probably a better description. But what do you call like one of those giant? It's like a giant circular door that's like super thick that you would use to like keep something out. It's like an end cap to sort of, you know what I mean? There's a very special word for that. Whatever, I can't remember it. Anyway, yeah, a cookie catcher is another way to say what it is. But when it opens up, it like you see like it's like you see like tendons and stuff stretching from it to the mouth thingy. It's very gross. It's very cool. But anyway, the way it works is the game does one mistake here. It turns out these are actually 4 separate enemies. Graphically, it looks like one thing. It looks like one giant fleshy ball that's being covered by 4 different little like metallic covers, like shields. It's actually 4 different enemies mechanically, but here's the problem. This is the part where the game makes a mistake. Every time you attack, the damage that you deal appears in the same spot. So you can't tell, except you can if you're me and you have Aram in your party. Because if you use Aram, if all 4 sections are open at once and you use Aram's shoot my arms move, it hits all 4 of them and you see 4 layers of numbers appearing on top of each other, which is how I knew that it was actually 4 separate enemies. Anyway, so you attack this thing, and what happens is that when the segments are all closed, you can't attack it. You can't even target it. It doesn't exist. But then each segment opens, and then after a certain amount of time, it closes. And the order in which they open and close seems random. I couldn't really identify a pattern, but usually it's actually very random. It might be that one opens and then closes. Usually it's like one opens, then the next one opens, then maybe the third one opens, and then after the third one opens, the first one will probably close. So like usually between 1 and 3 are visible at once. There might have been a point in which all 4 were open at once, but again, there's a lot of RNG to when they open and close. Anyway, the enemy only has 1 attack. The main enemy only has 1 attack. It just kind of shoots a laser at someone. It does a pretty medium amount of damage. But of the four shields, each of them has a special spell that they cast when they close. So them opening is not just saying it's time to attack, but it's also sort of a timer. It's saying, hey, get ready. They're about to do this move. Nice. So like the bottom left one, every time it closes, it casts slow on someone in your party. The one on the bottom right, every time it closes, it casts Bless on itself. Bless is a new spell that we have now, by the way. It's not actually new, but I hadn't used it until now. So the one on the top right casts Curse on one person in your party. The one on the top left, I forget. And then they have a couple other things as well. I think all of them, when they get low on health, or maybe they just do this randomly, will drain a character's health. And they have one or two other attacks as well. So you just prioritize. I decided to attack the one casting slow on everyone because slow is annoying. I killed that one first, right? But every time Aram attacked, it would hit however many of them were open. So I would time it. I'd be like, okay, I've got a level 3 attack charged up, but only one of them's open right now. So I'm just going to let Aram sit for a second. And then 2 more open, and then I'm like, bam, triple hit. So after I killed one of them, the other 3 went down a lot faster because they'd already been hit a lot. That's pretty much it. I think it's a really, really good battle. I seriously enjoyed the hell out of it. I also finally know what both Bless and Curse do. Bless, I found out over the course of this entire dungeon, I learned how to really use Bless. Bless is great. It just raises all your stats. You do more damage, you take less damage, and you're even a little faster. Not as fast as casting haste, but like you're just a little better, right? And if you're fighting a random battle, or not random, if you're fighting a mook battle, and it's a relatively easy battle that will be over pretty quickly, you don't need to bother. But if you're fighting a mob and you're like, this is a pretty tough formation, I know enough about this game to know that this is going to be a pretty tough battle, it's usually worth it to go ahead and cast Bless on yourself, because the battle's going to last long enough for the opportunity cost to be worth it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anyway, so and turns out if you combine Bless with, the spell, the mirror card that reverses a spell, that's Curse. So I'd already found out what Curse was because I was experimenting throughout this battle before I got to the final battle where the boss uses, for the first time in the whole game, an enemy uses Curse. So I was like, oh, I know what this is. I just intuitively know what this is because I assume it's the opposite. Because whenever I use the mirror and Bless, the game's UI text said Curse, and I didn't use it because I didn't have any reason to use it. But I then was like, oh, well, it's probably the opposite of Bless. And anyway, and yeah, so like if you bless all, then also if you bless all of your party members, then the one quadrant of the boss that curses someone, it just, if you curse someone that's blessed, it just removes the bless, right? Nice. Which is good because getting cursed honestly sucks. It's not cool at all. It lowers your stats. You're not doing as much damage. You're slower. So anyway, I was making foils of everything. I was doing bless on myself. I was doing haste on myself. I wasn't using slow on. Oh yeah, if you're fighting this battle, don't use status effects on the enemies because there are technically 4 different enemies. Also, I think when the quadrants close, it might get rid of status effects. I'm not actually sure if that's true. I thought maybe it happened, so then I stopped doing status effects on the boss because I thought maybe it had done that. Anyway, that's about all I have. The second phase of the boss is even more cool because the front cover blows away and you think you're done, but then a big, like, kind of like a hermit crab. You know how when a hermit crab comes out, it's like you have this hole and then out of it is just like a mess of scariness, but also cute. That's how this thing is. It's all just kind of popping out of the hole like this boss is really, really neat because it's, first of all, it's very easy. It's really easy. But here's the cool thing. It is exactly the same as all those little guys you just fought throughout the dungeon. It's the same moves. It's stronger, though not a ton stronger. And it has more health, though not a ton more health. So again, you realize, oh, this is all one organism. It has the same attacks. Which cool. Was just really neat. Just what a great little thematic sequence that we all got to go through. Sorry, that probably took more time than I was expecting, but it took more time than I was expecting as well. It's a great boss. We complain about this game a lot. So, hey, here's a really, really well-designed, smart section of this game. Oh, also, during the course of this week, I have gone from, man, this game sure has a magic system that I never, ever use, to I'm casting spells in almost every battle now.
Yeah, like since last night at
getting the
this time spell. When I was on your thing, you like on stream, you're like, magic sucks, and I'm never going to use it. Like 24 hours.
I think like half an hour later, I got the all spell was the thing. Yeah, because that's the thing. No one wants to waste 3 entire turns casting shield on everyone, right? But once you get the all card, Baba Booey, we're back in business. I will cast slow on all the enemies at once. I will cast bless on all my party at once. I will reverse things. I even used an elemental shield for the first time this week, because in the final dungeon this week, there's some really nasty fire enemies. So I would use fire. I would use fire shields. Yeah, now I'm not using magic for healing at all. I am buying 99 of every healing item every time I go to the store, because I can do that now. And I'm only using items to heal, and then I'm using my magic for casting these status spells. It's cool. The game completely turned around mechanically.
Yeah, when you start the game, it's like, oh, a new sword costs $500, and I'm getting $30 per thing. So I'll focus on getting like Maya and Grub stuff at each thing. And now you get 3,000 gold, but things still only cost $3,000. So it's like I can go fight one fight and fully outfit somebody. So you're just left with shitloads of gold. You're just like, all right, I'm just gonna buy every item now.
I literally am doing 99 of every item that isn't like the mega elixir is too expensive to get 99 of. But like the revive everyone with full health item, I bought 40 of them. I couldn't afford 99, but I could afford 40. But the other ones, it's like, I have 99 potions. I have 99 roots. I have 99 of the MP restores. And that 99 gets refilled every time I go back to a town.
Yeah, it's dope. So after we kill the mother brain, Corgan and Layla show up to join us right as Balkan comes in to stop us. We tell him to stand down, but instead he kills Layla dead. And this part is really sad and really dramatic, except there's a typo in the text and it calls Balcom Doskius the entire time. So it kind of just completely takes away from it.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice, which is
real sad.
It's weird in a different way. Yeah, it's actually quite shocking. I mean, the plot has a lot more interesting stuff going on this week as well. I mean, we didn't know Layla that much, but actually, you know why I'm sad about Layla dying? Because now there's one fewer person you can go to ask for a hint every time you're stuck.
We'll get to that because there's actually not.
Well, but I'm being in the moment, Sam.
Yes. So Corrigan then kills the shit out of Balcom and rushes to Layla's side, but right as the ground starts to shake like hardcore. The brain wasn't dead after all. It's literally oozing in a pile, but they all were like, oh, there must have been no way to defeat it because it was still alive. And I'm like,
yeah, so turns out we just failed to succeed. Bad guy won. So, okay.
So the Doomsday is kicking in. So we escape to the ship. We watch another cool ass Doomsday FMV. And then Corgan puts Layla in cryo to keep her from dying, even though everyone's like, she's seconds away from death. Like, you're saving her life. So what? When you unfreeze her, she'll die. And he's like, I don't know, but there's a chance. And it's real sad. There's some really great sprite acting right there. There
is.
I really freaking loved it.
Slight clarification. Unlike before, when the plate smashed into like the upper plate, this time it literally rises up and then just exists in a spot where there wasn't one before. When you go, it turns out you can go back there. I was exploring, not really sure what to do after this point. I didn't have to explore too long. I figured it out pretty quickly, but you can still go to Prana. And anyway, there's nothing to do there. I'll go ahead and spoil it. But you can enjoy the graphics. Dead. It's a beautiful destroyed city with really nice graphics and 2 battles. Literally just 2 enemy mobs walking around. You can fight them. There's not even any treasure or anything. But it is pretty neat that everyone did die, but like the place wasn't destroyed. I mean, most of the buildings are still standing, even if they're kind of damaged. So it's not like before where it smacked into the fucking bottom of another continent.
Yeah. Like Maddy alluded, there are no more hints and you're supposed to wander around, but you make your way back to Aziz and he says that Elisa stole the plans from him and is going to use the Doomsday device to complete the runes faster than Doskius. He doesn't know if she's going to be as reckless as him, but like, why would she steal it from us if our plan was to use it when it was safe? Like it only makes sense that she's going to do it unsafely because otherwise she would just help us. So we need to stop her now too. Then the game does something really, really weird. The only forward hint is that Tori has been added back as a conversation tree to everyone from Oasis.
In case you forgot who Tori was, because I'm sure everyone did. Sam, who the fuck is Tori, and why is it randomly a dialogue option now?
He is the Digimon master looking motherfucker that was like the inciting incident as you were going to try and find him because he didn't show up to class at the very beginning of the game. And that was it.
He's like our nephew or something.
Yeah, he's just a dude.
I don't think he's our nephew. I think he's like our cousin or
something. There's some little. He's some loose familial, either blood
some
familial or conceptually familial relationship. Yeah, he's just a fucking. He. You know, it's like in Xenogears. You got just this punk ass kid who's in your life at the beginning of the game who is annoying.
Yeah, and so like you just notice because it moves him to the front of the conversation tree and like we mentioned last time, Aziz will still give us our school lesson from the beginning and tell us about Septerra. And like you can get Grub to talk to him, Grub will like talk about, man, I'm living out in the waste and nothing about the whole game so far. So you're just like, oh, that's weird that Tori's back, but whatever. It's probably just from the beginning of the game. But no, it's not. It's plot critical. So
I will say the game doesn't actually keep. Except for, it did do this last week. For the most part, the game doesn't keep dialogue from the beginning of the game if it is obsolete, if it is no longer true. So, like, you can ask, tell me why the energy travels up the core of Septerra. Well, that's still true. It's just stupid that you can still ask them that 40 hours later. But, like, the whole Tori thing, we already resolved that whole plot line. So when you ask... where's Tori? It's like, oh, I guess he went missing again. I guess Maya is aware that he went missing again, and for some reason we care.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll pursue it because I don't know what else to do, so I guess I'll do it because I'm a good little gamer girl who does side quests.
And like maybe if you Dragon Quested at this point and you went around and you talked to more people in Oasis, you would stumble on the fact that like the because when you get if you go
you do
Oasis,
a lot of the NPCs
process,
are like, where's Tori? Yeah.
If you go back to Oasis proper, like the work bots are now a police force, and it's like things have changed. So like maybe you're intended to go that way, but you're already talking to Aziz who has that dialogue, so you end up just absorbing that there's a problem with Tori going on. It's very weird, but we just start looking for him, and apparently he was looking for us, and we go to ask Uncle if he's seen him, and Uncle says that Tori is up to no good, and the reason that the work bots are all war bots now is because he sold the mayor something that he found in the factory. And
what is with this like fascist little kid?
Right?
He's not fascist. He's just a fascist collaborator.
Oh, okay. You're right.
No, I think he just hasn't learned the very important lesson, which is if someone's obviously evil, don't sell them things.
Right?
Don't do business with people who suck. I think he's probably not like actual Nazi collaborators who are terrible people. I think he's just a child who hasn't managed to comprehend such lessons yet. But yeah, he's really dumb. He's just like
kind of shitty about it though.
Oh yeah, no, true. He's like, hey, this guy told me he'd give me $100 for this like ancient doomsday device that'll enslave all mankind. Cool, huh?
Yeah.
I should have charged him double.
Yep. Which is a line from this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Maya is like, he got it from the factory, but nobody can enter the factory. So of course we go to the factory. Tori is there outside of it. He says that the tech that he sold the mayor came from inside. And we're like, well, you kind of made our hometown a hellhole, and it's being crushed under the boot of these war bots. So we're going to go in, find something else that can stop this and reverse the mayor's control. Tori is like, trick question. I crawled in through a sewer pipe that you're too big for, so you have to find another way in. And then the game gives us a really bullshit hint for the dev intended route. Me and Eli are following a guide, so we just did it right away. Maddy loves party chat, so she accidentally found it. The dev intended.
Well, I will say not entirely accidentally. I was not bringing every single one of my party members to this spot to say what they had to say about it because I wanted to hear what they had to say for fun. I did legitimately think, I bet if I bring every party member here, maybe one of them will give me a useful hint. Yeah. So it was not by accident. I will be just, I'm a big old dummy and I mess up a lot of stuff. This time I was being smart and I need to get credit for that.
So the dev intended hit is that the door is being blocked by a certain magical graphical effect that is the same graphical effect that Corgan's move Demon Sword uses. However, Demon Sword is a late game tech that none of the three of us have so far, even after beating all of the things for the rest of the week.
Oh, I was wondering how you were supposed to figure that out.
So if you use Corgan,
I actually feel like my method might have been the dev intended route. Actually,
maybe he mentions using this tech. He mentions using this tech as his explanation on why he can do it. So I don't know.
Oh no! I agree with what you're saying. I'm saying that when the devs did it, I feel like they probably weren't like, ooh, and then they'll remember that tech move. I bet that's really more just a lore thing.
Maybe so. Similar to the Lobo one where it's like, oh, Lobo, you use lasers. And he was like, I use a handgun and rockets, but whatever. Sure, I'll use lasers for the plot. And it could also be that Demon Sword was an early tech and then they restructured
that could happen too.
And change it or something.
Oops.
Yeah. But so the trick is you go get Corgan comes back, it's like, oh, this is a demon gate, it's the same sort of magic that I use in my demon sword technique. I can open the demon gate for us. And we're like, hell yeah, and we jump through and go inside. When we get through, there are a bunch of big floaty Fifth Element looking motherfuckers in there, and they call themselves the Watchers, and they say that they've been watching us, so they know that we need to help Layla, and they're like, to save her, we need a healing plant from Shell 4 and an ancient chosen talisman from Shell 6. To get into the jungle where you can find the healing plant, you'll need our canal key, which was stolen by the mayor. So here is a device to reverse the programming of the work bots, which is what you wanted. You will use that, go in there, save Oasis, get the key, go to the canals, get the plant, go to the chosen ruins, get the talisman, come back here, go now. And we're like, okay, cool. And so first we head to the smelting complex, which is the only part of Oasis we have not been able to fully explore yet. And we fully explore it and make our way to the computer at the end. And we use the thingy and wipe the programming from the workbots, so they're back to our adorable unionized buddies. And now that everyone isn't afraid of dying, the townspeople have finally had enough of the mayor's shit, and they run him out of town, and it's a great scene.
About fucking time.
Because this is a really cute little subplot, because it was a big part of the game early on. It was like a weird little side thing where like, hey, the mayor of this town's just a fucking psycho. And he's just being weird to everyone all the time. And then they dropped it for a lengthy portion of the game. And I was like, hey, that's it. What a cool little, I don't know. It was really cool. One of my favorite parts of this week.
Yeah, it was really good. So then we go to Shell 4, and then Sam gets lost for an entire hour because I thought that the port area was that shipping port that's on Shell 6. Like in my mind, I'm like, oh, it can't be there. That's an inside area, not an outside area. And I have to look for this particular manhole cover from the guide. And so I spent a long time looking for it. I crisscrossed every single area in the World Bazaar like 30 times. God. Could not find it. And then I had to go somewhere else to like a guide. No, I went earlier to the Let's Play when you first get to the World Bazaar, because in the Let's Play he uses the cheat to print out the whole map, and so I was looking for it on the maps, and I found it on the shipping transport one. I was like, oh yeah, shit. So that was fun.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have a little tip here. This game's world map does have secret zones that are unlabeled. Just so we're clear. Like literally you just click on that area or use the arrow key to fly to it, and then you'll land. The good news is what Sam did, clicking on everywhere, is not actually necessary. I mean, obviously, if you don't know what you're looking for, then I'm not like saying Sam's being dumb here, but I am saying that I've done a bit of that, and even though they are secret and that is kind of weird and annoying, luckily their hitboxes are pretty big. So Sam couldn't find it because he was trying to find something that didn't exist, right? So I will say if you go to each shell and just fly your ship around at things that look like they might be a secret zone, you will be able to find all of them, which is so go. Yeah, if you haven't found those, if you didn't know about that, go ahead and do it. So far, none of them have become relevant. Though I do know that I do know the existence of like 5 or 6 of them, and I'm wondering if they'll become relevant at some point. There are 2 on the World Bazaar shell. One of which leads to a tiny little like a little sewer area with a transparent or a translucent immaterial treasure chest, like a hologram of a treasure chest. I don't know what that is or if it will become useful. Maybe it's like an end game like ultimate weapon or of some sort. And the other one leads to a forest, which is our forest goal, but it's like a different part of it, and it's super tiny and has a single mob that will annihilate you. So it's not the intended path. But just so you're curious, if you do want to fly around, yes, there are a number of secret zones. I don't know if they're side quests or if they're just later in the game main quest, but yeah, it's a thing. But not that this week we don't have to go to any of those.
Yeah. So you eventually, hours later, find your way to the canals, and right as you open it, a dude comes up and he's like, "Hey, General Campbell is alive. He survived the crashing of Janam." And Maya's like, "Oh no, that's important. What should we do?" And we say, "Save that shit for next week, because that apparently is the longest dungeon in the game. So we're not going to do that right now." So instead, we make our way through the sewers. You get to the jungle, you get the plant, you get a fiber optic vine while you're there. You make your way out. Nothing happens inside of it. So then we make our way to the Chosen Ruins, and we use the fiber optic vine to fix a connection to actually get in, and we make our way through a very amazing dungeon, like second best dungeon of this week. They actually make flipping levers do something. For the first time, we've been flipping levers for the whole game so far, but now it's like, oh, it actually will change the layout of the dungeon. Like, it probably only feels very awesome because we've had just doors the whole rest of the time. And Zelda has had this concept of when you flip a switch, the red blocks go up and the blue blocks go down. They've had that forever. And that's basically all this is. But doesn't matter. This is
actually the second time this happened in the game, except the first time it happened, they didn't like do anything with it. You were still just flipping a lever and it makes the critical path. They actually have done the whole some things go up, some things go up, some things go down. I think it was in Chosen Palace Part 1. But yeah, it wasn't nearly as interesting.
It was the pirate stronghold one.
That's what you're right. That's what it was.
But yeah, back then there was only one way forward, so you had to figure it out. This one, it's a lot of like thinking about the dungeon and going to one place to open it up, like it is in Zelda. It was much better. But other than that, the dungeon is not important. You don't fight any like named boss mobs. You don't really do anything. The only important thing about it, and it's not important, the animations to get into a battle just reach a critical mass at this point, because you'll walk into an area, your characters will jump in front of these eggs. The eggs will then have a long opening animation, and then you and the monsters inside of it will now jump out into the open so that you can fight, where then you will pause and wait for the other monsters that they decided should be a part of this fight will then jump into the fight.
So dumb.
Multiple times this week while I was streaming, the gap between the jumping was so long that like I'd start the fight and the enemies would all jump into place and I'd be like, "Oh, great, it's only one enemy this time." And then as I'm saying that, another enemy is like, "Nope," and then jumps into the field. And there's like enough of a gap where multiple times I'd be like, oh, cool, this is gonna be easy. Oh no, here comes the buddy. Okay, it's like he's on the other side of the fucking map, and he's like, oh, are y'all fighting? Okay, I'm gonna go over there.
There was one in particular where I happened to roll battle track 5, and it got to the B part before the battle started. I was like, Jesus
That's
Christ.
really funny. Oh, I will say another
The
reason why
monsters
this
are
week,
like, hey, you guys hanging out? Great, I'll join you.
I will say, another reason why this week is so much better than the previous weeks, the avoiding the battles stealth has become very fun for me. Even though it's like the easiest stealth game in the world, for not easiest, even though it's like the most simplistic stealth game in the world, like Metal Gear for 2-year-olds, it's a lot of fun, actually. It's because all the enemies actually have different behaviors. Like some enemies are like, if you get near them, it triggers a battle. Some enemies are like line of sight. The enemies have different walking patterns. And in previous dungeons, I feel like sometimes they've been a little bit too bad about making them like impossible to avoid the battles or way too hard. There's a lot of battles where you're like, did I fuck that up because it was hard because I fucked it up, or was that bad? Is this battle actually unskippable? Right? This week has a huge amount of skippable battles, but they all require some effort as well. Like that annoying that two-part sewer dungeon that leads to the forest. Every battle is skippable. On my return trip, I avoided every single battle in the sewer, and I felt really proud of myself for avoiding every single one. Right, and this chosen palace is pretty light on enemies anyway. It's a lot of running around and exploring without having to worry about enemies. But most of the enemies that are there are skippable. There are a few that are very, very, very concretely not skippable, mostly involving eggs. It's like you have to run through these eggs to get through, and they hatch when you get to the center. But anyway, skipping lots of battles this week, one of the many reasons why this was a nice dungeon.
Yeah. Other than that, literally nothing happens. If you bring Selena, she comments on like some of the technology that the Chosen uses if you're a lore head, but other than that, there's no dialogue. And so and literally when you get the talisman, it's just in a chest. It doesn't even feel like you finished the dungeon. It's just
I thought it was going to be like on a magical glowing pedestal of some kind, you know, inside of like inside of like a dramatic room. It's just in a chest like anything else. Very weird. Did y'all get the important optional chest here?
The fate card?
Fast spell. Yes.
Hell yeah.
Which is very, very important because now we can cast fast without having to just reverse
one
slow.
card. Yeah. Super dope. But yeah, so Maya says, this is an ancient chosen talisman. And then we make our way back to the Watchers. And so we give them the plant, and they're like, you can keep the talisman. And Maya rightfully is like, that dungeon was long as fuck. What do you mean you don't need the talisman? And they're just like, reasons.
Well, they say you'll need it later. Yeah. Which is like, okay, we'll need it later. But why did you make us get it now before you would revive our dead friend? Dumb.
So they say that they have healed Layla and that she's at the cathedral in Wind City. So we go there and Corgan goes in alone. Layla has been turned into a Watcher, which is the only way that they could save her. So why did we get them a medicinal plant to heal her body if they were just going to download her consciousness? Maybe
they had to like stabilize her before they could, or not stabilize, like, you know, maybe she would have died and they wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise.
Maybe so.
You know, maybe it kept her. Or maybe they tried. Maybe they thought the herb was going to work, but then it didn't.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
But the scene's real sad. Science nitpicks aside, it's a real sad scene where Corgan basically has to, like, his girlfriend is alive but dead, and he swears fealty to her, and it's real sad. So we then come in, and Layla continues her job of being the exposition dump. So we ask her about all the things, and she says all the things. Some of the important ones, she says that the Watchers and the Chosen were both part of Marduk's people back in the day. The Chosen wanted power, so they moved to Shell 1 so they can steal power from the Spine, because we probably didn't talk about it because it wasn't that important. But the rotation of the shells generates power that the spine uses to rotate the shells, which isn't how that works, but whatever. And the chosen
that's where all of our core energy comes from. It's like we're tapping into this latent magic field that's created by it's a magnetic field basically. It's magnetism.
And the chosen moved up to the North Pole where the spine attaches to basically plug their iPhones directly into the power grid, and so they are bad for all that. And Layla also says that Marduk's prophecy and teachings were not necessarily literal, but were about overcoming your personal demons. But Doskius thinks that he has to fight actual demons to be enlightened. So he's become such a warlord because he's like, oh, I'm doing God's will by fighting all the time because he told me I had to fight through my demons. And she then says that Campbell is alive and very important, so we must go see him, which is something we will do next week.
Hell yeah.
So for now, let's listen to another Halo song and then talk about our memorable moments. All right. Maddy, do you have any memorable moments?
I just realized I need to open up my other laptop, the one that I play this game on, so that I can say my memorable moments. Sorry, not ready yet.
Okay, so I will talk about my adventures in cheating this week. So for the whole game so far, I've always wanted in the back of my mind to be able to try out a boss fight, engage with the mechanics some, but I knew I had to play a lot of catch up.
That's what I'm here for.
Because I didn't play any last week, so I had to catch up. Thankfully, I had Maddy's save file, so I wasn't all the way behind. But normally, I'll use the Control-Alt F3 cheat so that I will win the battle and get the experience, so I'm still leveling up so that I can fight when I want to. This week, I was like, fuck all of that. I will put in the Make Them Stop Mommy cheat, which you don't even aggro monsters. You just walk right past them. You actually cannot open the battle interface. Like if you get to a boss fight, they just continue the conversation at the end of the boss fight, and there's not even a break whatsoever. It's hilarious. So I was using that, getting through the tentacle dungeon, and so I was just walking into areas and shit was exploding, and I was like, what the fuck did I trigger? Because the monsters are part of the wall. You have seen several of them that weren't monsters before, just around, and so I wasn't processing that they were the monsters, and so some of them explode and they move away, but because I can't get into the fight, they don't explode. But because it triggers the end of the fight, I can walk through them, and so you just have to glitch yourself, walk up against them, and you'll just glitch and come out the other side, and that's how you make it through if you have Make Them Stop Mommy on. That was really weird and hard to parse what was going on. So I saved, closed Septerra Core so it would clear my cheats, turned it back on, and then just did the Control-Alt F3 to get through that one. But it was a very weird process. Which reminds me, there was another one in, I think it was Chosen Palace Mark II, where you're supposed to walk into the room and there's a mini boss fight. There's this huge robot standing directly in front of the switch that you have to flip. But I had Make Them Stop Mommy on, so I walk up to him and I could not click on the thing, but I also couldn't get in the fight because I had the cheat on. But the game has there's an NPC in my way and I have to get through protection that a lot of games do, where you'll keep walking and you'll eventually just walk through them. So this one has it, but it's really glitchy and funny, and you move 1 pixel at a time. So I just 1 pixel at a time my way into the robot's body so that I could position myself perfectly to pull the switch, because Maya, because you know how you can click on something and Maya will path her way to it so that she'll then go and pull it. She couldn't do that because their monster was in the way. So I had to find the pixel on which she would eventually end up if I had clicked on it so that I could pull the thing instead of just turning off the cheats and fighting the fight. It would take me 30 seconds, but it was a lot more fun to just phase shift into the robot's body to pull the
That does sound fun.
Yeah. But those are all that I had besides ones I already brought up.
I have one that I want to grab in case someone else, I want to be the one to say this one. We get yet another of the exact same Legend of Dragoon reference. When you defeat Balcom, he goes, "No, this cannot be." So that's twice in this game so far, which is great. In addition, at one point after you free Wind City, Layla, because if you recall, there was a bit of funny. I had a few like funny little political commentaries to make. I think back in our first episode about the government of Wind City, and there's some interesting stuff there that also seems very like. It seemed like they were mostly trying to make jokes, and because I think the writers were focusing more on making jokes, it wasn't coherent. What the point was, like, you know what I mean? Like, they were simultaneously trying to make a joke about, like, yeah, let's give power to the people, but then later, like, oh, the rabble are stupid, you know, which is, like, a funny joke, but wait, what's this game's, you know, what's the actual situation? Anyway, they bring that back. So you talk to Layla, and she says, the abbot and I are devising a new system to govern the city. The people will vote for several positions of power, and each will balance the other. And I'm like, no, don't invent checks and balances. You're so sexy. Ha ha ha. Just make a fucking parliamentary system. I swear to God. Like, do you not know that the American Constitution was very literally, and this isn't conspiratorial thinking, it was very literally written to be the way that it is, so that people wouldn't be able to change anything. That's not a byproduct of our Constitution. It's actually an embedded element of the Constitution. It is when there's gridlock and no one can.
It's a feature, not a bug.
It is a feature, not a bug. If you're more interested, you should check out the most recent issue of Jacobin Magazine, which is called "Failure is an Option." It's about why America sucks, and a lot of the reasons is because of our Constitution. We need a new one. Anyway, so yeah, she and the abbot are like, yeah, we're gonna invent checks and balances, and I'm like, just do a parliament for the love of Christ. But in addition, it's like, wait a second. You can't just a literal soldier, you who is a literal military leader, and the abbot, a literally religious leader, can't just like get together and be like, hey, the two of us figured out the new democratic government system that's going to be fair to everyone. I'm like, no, you if you want the system to be democratic and fair to everyone, you should, I don't know, hold an election for a constitutional assembly that can then democratically create the Constitution that involves everyone. Anyway, it's obviously I know the writers of the game probably didn't put that much thought into it, but I sure am. Layla and Abbott they're just going to be back. Look, this city has gone through like 4 different governmental systems during the course of this game. I just think that they need to get their shit together. The end. Let's see, what else do I got? In addition, I didn't mention this earlier, but that very just random interim sewer dungeon, the sewer dungeon that leads from the beautiful Aurora Borealis place to the Chosen Palace Part 2, is gorgeous. It is my favorite graphics in the game. It's a sewer, but like it's an incredible sewer. It's really pretty. It's got this brick. It's got all these like pipes, all these metal, like ribbed metallic pipes on the walls and the ground. But on the ground, the pipes are like partially submerged in water, but not entirely. So you see like some of the ribs of the pipe like poking out. It's just a really, maybe the prettiest sewer dungeon ever put into a video game, which I know that's a low bar, but like still. In addition, when we go to fight Caleb, who I don't even know if you said the word Caleb today, but Caleb is the guy who was the plans. Who had the plans, yes. We say, Caleb, hand over the plans or we'll kill you, or something like that. And Caleb says, you see, that's the difference between peasants and lords, my dear. We do not offer life as an alternative. And I'm like, That's a fucking good villain line.
It really is.
Yeah. He's like, idiot, you just kill the person. You don't, and then you take the thing. Stupid. Maya says to Aziz at one point, as a totally random optional dialogue, you can just talk to him. Maya says, the more I try to help, the more the world seems to head toward destruction. And he says, basically, keep your chin up. I'm sure you'll succeed eventually. And I liked that. It was kind of lampshading the fact that this game has a lot of things are happening for no reason and we don't really get it. But the game was kind of like making that textual, where she's like, a lot of things are happening and I don't really understand how I'm supposed to be saving the world here. And I'm like, yeah, me either, lady. But and she feels sad about it, which is cool. That is, and also finally the forest we went to today. Yeah, this game is just like, hey, here's a 5th forest dungeon. However, it's the most beautiful forest dungeon in the game so far. It's a beautiful forest. Not much to say about it. It's just really, really pretty. It's like sort of swampy, but it's not like a swamp. It just has like these pools of standing water where it's like a mixture of dirt and water. Just lots of really pretty graphics. Also, I finally, after weeks, found the 7th bird in the game.
Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about that side quest, but they're the stardust of this game.
I am obsessed with this side quest. So on our literal first week, when you go to the farm in Wind City, there's a random lady who is like, hey, she has a bunch of birds around her, and she's like, hey, you want some of my bird seed? And you're like, yes, I would love your bird seed. And she gives it to you, and it's a key item, and you have 10 of them. And throughout the whole game, anytime you see a bird, not any bird, but certain birds that are interactable, if you give them the bird seed just by clicking on them with the bird seed, like using an item, they will eat it and be happy and then fly away, presumably fly back to the lady. Maybe they're her birds and they're scattered all over the world. I don't know. But I am just obsessed with this side quest. First of all, the idea of feeding birdseed to a bird is really cute compared to something like collecting stardust. So every time I run around an area, I'm just like, bird. Where's the fucking bird? I gotta find the bird.
Do you want me to break your heart? You said you just found the 7th. The Let's Play has found 9.
Are they missable?
I doubt it.
I don't think they're missable, and I do intend to try and get them all. Every single one I found so far was not missable. So, But anyway, I was stuck at 6.
There is one in Prano, but I'm sure
I already got that one.
Be there. But yeah,
I got that one.
I'm sure you've already got it.
Prano's not very big. Been pretty good at looking for them, but I guess not good enough. But yeah, I had a hunch I missed some because I got number 6 like 2 weeks ago. And I've been wondering when I was going to get another one. So I finally got the 7th one. And I was like, I screamed. I was so excited. Anyway, that's all my Mim Moms for the week.
Eli, do you have any that we didn't steal from you?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so.
There's.
Oh, did I steal one of yours?
I'm gonna remember this game for how much it frustrated me.
Yeah. And you have the ultimate cheats on it, and it's still really frustrating.
Yeah.
You remembered all those levers that you pulled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sure do.
Here's one more, actually. This game innovates in the world of leverology. In the field, it's so far the game's got a lot of levers, and they all look exactly the same graphically, which is funny. No matter where you are, they all have the exact same graphics for a lever. But at one point, and the game's also got a lot of treasure chests, and most of the loot in this game is really bad, except occasionally it's good. It's like all the loot in this game is either a Phoenix down or the haste spell. But I actually also found an incredible piece of armor today, this week, from a dead crab carapace. But anyway, in one of the dungeons this week, I believe it might have been Chosen Palace Mark II, actually. No, it wasn't. It was... Give me a second. I forget what it was. Doesn't matter. But at one part, I'm looking for a lever, right? And then what ends up happening is I find a treasure chest. And I open the treasure chest, and I'm like, ugh. I thought, like, just looking at the mini map, I just assumed that this dead end was going to be a lever, right? So I was like, oh, I bet the lever's in this direction. So I go, and it's like, damn it, where else is the lever going to be? I figured this was where it was, just based on the way the level design was going. But in the treasure chest is not like a fucking Phoenix down or something, but no, it's the red key, which I didn't know I needed a red key, but turns out I did. And yeah, this is in the chosen, or this is in the ancient palace.
Yeah.
But then so I'm like, oh, okay, I have a red key. Cool. But then after I get the red key, it opened, a bunch of doors open and close as if I pulled a lever. So this is a combination treasure chest and lever. Innovative. Very innovative. Never seen that before. I guess it was like a hidden trap that was trapped, and when you opened it, it triggered the buttons, because it did close some doors too. It forces you to do a circuitous route to return. So maybe it's like a trap. But anyway, yeah, just treasure chest / lever achiever. They've invented it. So yeah, good job, game.
Yeah. Other than that, we are completing episode 6 of probably 8 for this game. So you know what that means?
Fuck.
I'm about to tell you guys what our next game block is, and it's exciting. It's something I've wanted to do basically from the jump, but I was like, there's no way I can convince Eli to buy a PSP. But god damn it, I convinced Eli to buy a PSP, so we're doing PSP block, motherfuckers. So on the...
It's technically a Vita.
Yes. But on the Vita's PSN, you can buy PSP games, and 2 of those PSP games you can buy are Brave Story New Traveler, which is apparently a remake of a really old game that was like a cult classic, so they gave it a full-on, like, from the ground up remake on the PSP, and it supposedly owns. Tim Rogers has talked about it several times as an aside in other reviews, so that's how you know it's good, where he brings it up all the time. The other one is Hex's Force, which I don't even think the creators of Hex's Force know what Hex's Force is. It is a very obscure game that fucking owns. And because I was going through just like, what are some good RPGs on the PSP like list, and just adding them when I got the Vita, and they were like Hex's Force, and I'm like, that's a dumbass name, but the art's kind of cute, so I'll play it and see if it's good. And it's like really freaking good. And
cool.
Like I played like the first 2 dungeons.
What kind of game is it?
And I really loved it. It's a turn-based JRPG, like a SNES RPG like, but they do cool things with like multiple protagonists, and there's something about the battle system that's like different and interesting. I don't remember what it was. It was a couple months ago now. But yeah, so we were playing 2 obscure PSP games that nobody's ever heard of, except for our baby boy Matt. Brave Story is one of his favorite games. So shout out to Matt. So
what you're saying is I need to message Bernard and tell him to mail me the Vita back.
Yes.
So that I can play these games.
Hell yeah. But yeah, that's what we're doing next. PSP games. Square Block is still, or Square Moratorium is still in effect. Neither of these games are Square games, and I'm real excited for it. Thankfully, Eli, I know that both of these games are good, and both of them are SNES styled RPGs, so you'll probably like both of them. Here I am putting my foot in my mouth in week 2.
Don't say that. You're gonna jinx it if you say that.
Again, week 2, they're going to introduce fucking 3D jumping, and Eli's just going to break his Vita over his knee and say never again.
It turns out that the game isn't even in 2D. It just is in 2D for the first portion, and then it's like actually the game has a whole second game engine that is 3D and just like Xenogears.
Yeah. No!
And every dungeon is a tower dungeon.
Yes.
Oh,
where if you miss the platforming that they shoved into your JRPG, you fall all the way down the tower and have to start over again. And while you're falling, you get into random battles. So you're just gonna love this.
If you're out there, game developers, and you want to make Sailor Eli quit the podcast, get to work on that game.
Ironically, everything about that sounds dope, and I would definitely play that game. That sounds really fun.
But yeah,
so thematically interesting, you know.
So yeah, PSP block is next, and then I'll go ahead and say it. After that, we will be selling out and playing one of the few non-square sellout games that I could think of, and that is Tales of Symphonia.
Yes,
will be
the
our
Tales game
sellout game for this year.
finally.
So really excited about that. Back when the GameCube was out, basically all the RPG heads played Tales of Symphonia. It was like the Final Fantasy VII of the GameCube era. So
real quick, Sam, other than the Tim Rogers endorsement, which frankly should be enough for anyone listening to this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
What else? What kind of game is this?
So Brave Story is it feels like because it's a remake of I think actually SNES
right.
RPG. It feels
I already forgot that you said that. Yeah.
It feels a lot like it. It's a isekai story. So you start off where your friend is dying in the hospital, and a big ass door shows up on the roof of the hospital, and you walk through it, and then you go on a JRPG adventure. I didn't get very far into that one. It was actually hilariously the reason I bought my PSP back in the day. I was like, this game looks great. I was at Game Over Video Games in Austin, which is like looking through the used games, and I'm like, Brave Story, New Traveler, what, like, that sounds like an RPG. What is it? I looked it up. I saw a little bit of gameplay. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm going to buy this PSP because they had one for like $50. And I was like, PSP and Brave Story, please. And I brought it home, played it for a couple of seconds, didn't touch my PSP again until I bought a Vita. So it's the game I bought the PSP for, and I did not
That's cool.
Play it.
Fun fact, in case, just for those keeping score at home, this is going to be yet another rare occurrence, although hopefully less rare going forward. Actually, yeah, it is less rare going forward, of a game that I haven't played. We've been on a roll lately with games I haven't played. We finally got out of I think we finally started playing stuff that's off the beaten path enough that I haven't played it. So yeah, either way.
Yeah, super excited for those. By the time you hear this, I will have typed up all of the doodads about it, and it'll be available at our website, www.rpgbook.club. You can go there, toss us a few ducats, get that link to the poll, vote to your heart's content. I honestly,
Pokemon, go to the poll.
Like, I honestly do not have a preference for this one. Both of them seem really awesome for completely different reasons. So, if you want to be nice to Eli, I think Eli would like Hex's Force more. but
that's just a guess.
Just because that's just a guess, because I'm not very far in either of them, and I'm relatively unspoiled on what lies in store for both of them. But while you're there at www.rpgbook.club, you can find a link to our Discord where you can come and hang out with us and tell us how much you love Hex's Force and Brave Story, and you're so excited that we're finally playing games that you like. Because I always love when, cause like, shout outs to Benji Brendan Fraser. I forget his thing. I don't have Discord open right now, but like
Mohammed
when
bin
we
Salman?
announced we were playing
Listen to our
Septerra Core. But when we announced we were playing Septerra Core, he was like, "Oh my god, I have it on disc. I love this game," and that's what we're here for. Is we love covering games that nobody else covers because it's somebody's favorite game. And if Brave Story or Hex's Force is your favorite, come and tell us about it in the Discord, because we love that shit.
I just realized I probably am girlfriendly obligated to shill my girlfriend's thing one more time. I'll make it real fast. Hey,
Definitely.
Check out Google Dungeon Bitches and check out its Kickstarter. My girlfriend has a Kickstarter. It's not they are not the lead designer of the game, but they are heavily involved with it, doing lots of work. And anyway, it looks great. I won't give you the whole pitch. Honestly, it looks awesome, and it's already raised $20,000. Its initial goal was $5,000. It hit $20,000 over the last night, and it's currently got stretch goals up to $25,000. Though, since it's getting so close, you can bet your ass that the people involved are currently are going to have new stretch goals. You know, once it gets closer to 25K, so that there can be more things to raise money for. But yeah, check it out. If it seems like something you're into, then Sam, when you mentioned throwing us some ducats, that's what made me remember. Throw the project some ducats if it looks like it's something you'd want to play.
Hell yeah. And with that, as always, for RPG Book Club, I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
No, this cannot be. I'm Maddy Grace.
Toodaloo.
Cow. It's from the other game we're playing.
That's funny. Good one. Nice.